Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Brought to you by Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. The man for all seasons, Chapman. ChapmanHeating.com. Well, workers at the General Motors plant in Kokomo have delivered the final shipment of a federal contract to produce 30,000 critical care ventilators in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. GM forged a high-profile partnership in March with Washington-based Ventec Life Systems to produce the ventilators after receiving a $489 million contract from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Now, according to the companies, the order was completed in 154 days. Monumental task, with one ventilator completed about every 7 minutes. Well, at the turn of the century, the 20th century, steel magnate Andrew Carnegie offered up his millions to build public libraries across the United States. Hoosiers took advantage of Carnegie's generosity and secured funding for more than 160 libraries, more than any other state in the country. But as our Mary-Rachel Redman reports, this Carnegie Library, located in Madison County, is particularly special and unfortunately in danger of becoming extinct.
My opponent and his associate on the New Deal ticket.
80 years ago, Elwood native Wendell Willkie was nominated as the Republican candidate to face FDR for the presidency in 1940.
To outdistance Hitler in any contest he chooses in 1940 or after.
And despite giving FDR his closest election, ultimately his bid was unsuccessful. But one could argue the Willkie name had far more reaching benefits for the community of Elwood outside of the political arena.
This was a treasure to have in your local community here in Elwood.
Andrew Carnegie was once the richest man in the world. And at the turn of the century, he began offering his millions to communities across the country to build public libraries. Enter Wendell's parents, Herman and Henrietta Willkie, key players in securing this Carnegie Library for the city of Elwood.
The effort to get this library was extensive, and it paid off only after 6 years of working to get this library here.
In August of 1901, Elwood citizens wrote to Mr. Carnegie, informing the steel tycoon that their current library was so popular, in a matter of months, it would no longer be big enough. And the letter went on to say the city of Elwood did not have any citizens wealthy enough to purchase a new building and asked for his generosity.
After the plans were submitted for this particular library and then they reviewed them, they said that this was the ideal standard for library circulation. The Library of Congress actually recommended the Boston Public Library to model their construction after Elwood's library here in Indiana. Both the architecture is intact here, but also that circulation method is also intact here, and it remains. There's been very little alteration to the building itself.
The library would go on to serve Elwood citizens for nearly a century before going on the market in the mid-90s, and then remained vacant until 2018, when an out-of-state buyer purchased the property, but has done little to make improvements.
As the owner is from out of state, and I don't believe that they appreciate the true architectural value of what it means to the city of Elwood when the great memories we've had from residents that have grown up generation to generation.
The threat is that it's just sitting here vacant, and of some leaking that was occurring that's caused mold growth in the basement. There are other issues that need to be repaired. You can see that there's paint that's failing. Some of the windows, the historic windows, need to be fixed or repaired. And so there are just some issues that if you let them continue to linger, other things are going to infiltrate it and the building will eventually start to crumble.
It's just sat empty for so long that it's something that we've been working hard to try to acquire the ownership of it so we can get in and fix it up and truly save a landmark in the city of Elwood.
I would like it to be turned into something, a business, a restaurant, a brewery, anything really. Just to preserve the actual architecture of the building would be wonderful.
It makes you shiver when you walk into that building, and just the effort that's gone in there. It's a very impactful space. And I'm hoping that through our efforts and the owner's efforts and the community's efforts that we can get this building back to that space.
Mary-Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.